Hey, welcome back. It's Jacqueline, and this is Chesticles. I call it Chesticles because I have brass balls, and they get me in kind of weird situations that are comical. So I want to share them with you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you are enjoying these, and I'm going to keep continuing to post. Enjoy them. So I just want to tell you, I have no sense of direction. I was evidently born without an internal compass, and that's fine. I want you to know that I did invent GPS. Oh, yeah, I did, yeah. So my idea, though, was you could buy a cassette tape. This is how long ago I came up with this idea. You buy a cassette tape if you want to go to, say, New York, want to see, Manhattan, wherever you want to go, and you buy a very inexpensive cassette tape. That cassette tape would then tell you how to get there from wherever you were. You would buy it locally, wherever you were from, and it would take you there. And it would be my lovely voice telling you, go about 3 miles. If you're in traffic, pause this tape. Which I thought was so brilliant because you pause the tape if you're in traffic and then you catch up. And there would be landmarks, and that was my brilliant idea. But of course, until now, I said I was going to do a podcast, and I'm doing it. But anyway, I've said a lot of things. I was going to do a lot of things. So I invented GPS. That was my favorite. Oh, I forgot to tell you too. You know what else I invented? Uber. Yep. Yes, I did. I was in England. And they have these, what they call private taxis. So if you went to a bar and you had a couple too many and you, of course, didn't want to drive and you knew, there's these private taxis and you just call the number, and it was the same idea as Uber. This is way before Uber came out. So when I came back to the States, I was like, that is such a brilliant idea, especially because I live in the suburbs. So transportation without a car is not that easy. So I had this whole thing, how am I going to do this? And I even thought, I wonder if you paid people, just anybody, they could make money. I had the whole idea. But like everything else I've tried and had great ideas with, I never followed up on it. And so, Uber's now Uber. Good for them. I'm happy for them. They did what I didn't do. They followed through. It's a great idea. There's a lot of things like that. I remember when I was in the clinical part of dentistry, when I was working, I had this great idea to wear matching scrub hats with our scrubs. And I thought this would be so fun, And everybody's like, who's going to wear those hats? Nobody's wearing hats. Don't do it. Side note, don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the knowers. Don't listen to anybody. I should have forged through because now almost everyone wears scrub hats in dentistry, especially now after COVID. So another opportunity I just didn't follow through on. But anyway, I do not know where I am ever. I mean, this is inside and this is outside. So if I'm in a big house, expect me to take several weeks to not only figure out how to get there, actually that's more like several months, but to know where your bathroom is, to know where your kid, I just don't have it. It's not there in me. I've come to terms with it. I accept it, I embrace it, and I'm careful that, I follow my GPS. Well, those things aren't 100%. And on more than one occasion, I have gone to the wrong location. And I'm going to tell you a story about 2 times I did that. And here they go. One was at a friend having a party. She's invited us all over. It was what I'll call a potluck. You bring your favorite dish. And, we're going to just get together, maybe play some games, do whatever. Take the GPS. Okay, we're going to figure out where this place is. It wasn't that far, maybe 25 minutes from my house. My husband was driving. I was the passenger. We're following the GPS. I had been to her house. Oh, sure I have. Several times, actually. I didn't know where it was. Don't ever assume just because I'd been there I remember where you live, because I didn't. But I think I find the house, and that's where GPS told us to go. So I go, and I have my pan of whatever I had in my hands, and my husband is parking the car, and I go up the steps, and I knock on the door, and then I go to open it, and it's open, and I open it, and I said, "Potty's here." And I look at a family of 5 sitting down eating spaghetti and meatballs. And they look at me like, "Who are you?" And I had no idea that I walked into the wrong house. But fortunately, they were very kind. And the father stood up and he said, "I think you might have the wrong house." I said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." But the sad thing is, I'm so past being embarrassed because I've embarrassed myself so many times that what are you going to do? But he was nice. He said, "Where are you looking for? Who are you looking for?" I told him the name and he gave us better directions. But this guy, being a fun guy, he said, "Do you mind?" And I didn't mean mushroom. I just meant a fun guy. Get it? All right, that was corny. So he says, "Do you mind if I mess with your husband?" So my husband walks up the path after parking the car. He puts his hand out. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. It's been a long time." My husband's like, "Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you." And the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm just kidding. You're at the wrong house." So, of course, my husband is so used to me doing this. He just rolls his eyes and, he's like, "Again?" That's what he answered. He goes, "Again?" So the guy's like, "She do this a lot?" He's like, "More than I care to talk about, So he led us to the right house and we got there. And then, of course, I told the story and, it was fun. Very, very typical Jacqueline. The other time, it was a golf outing. And after the golf outing, my friend was kind enough to have people back to her house. And there was a lot of people there. And she had, all the accoutrements, like snacks and food and beer and everything like that. But I had to use the restroom. So there's so many people and there's so many cars and all this. And I don't really know which place to go to the bathroom. But I figured, let me just walk in and look for it because it was just a lot of people there. So I'm sitting around with most of my friends. I call them my shore house friends. These are people I shared a New Jersey shore house with for many, many, many years. I think altogether we counted, it was like 25. Anyway, I go into the house, up the stairs. Oh, there's no line for the bathroom. Awesome. I go in. As soon as I sit down, I hear knock, 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 knock. Knock, 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 knock. I'm like, "Just a minute. Excuse me." Knock, 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 knock. "Excuse me." Knock, knock. I'm like, "Just a minute." Like, come on, I just have to pee, really, So I hurry up. I do my business. I finally open the door. A woman's standing there with her arms folded looking at me, and she said, "You're not in the right house. The party is next door." I had the audacity to give her, an attitude and say, "Excuse me, just a minute. I'm in her house peeing. She doesn't know who I am." Oh, Jacqueline Chesticles, this. Well, the funny part of the story is my friends know I have no sense of direction and they knew I was going into the wrong house, but they chose not to let me know because they wanted to see me do what I do best, and that's make a fool out of myself. But that was always a good story. I'm like, no one could tell me, not no one. And they're like, "I wanted to, but I couldn't. It's just too funny." So it's circa 2000. And being in the clinical field, as I told you, in dentistry for as long as I was, I didn't really need to use a computer for any reason. Back then we had those, big books, you turn the book over, it takes up the whole desk. That's how we would make appointments and such. So we didn't really need computers too much in dentistry in the regular office. So I didn't really have a lot of experience. And then once we got them, it was really just for the front desk. The clinicians, we hadn't used them yet. But, they were becoming more affordable, and I heard you can do this thing called email, and, I decided that I am going to get a computer for my house. And I get the computer, and I got a Dell. I remember it was a Dell. And I plug it in, and I'm all excited because, now I can email people, instead of actually speaking to them. And, I could search things and all that kind of stuff. Social media wasn't really around then, so maybe MySpace was, but I hadn't heard of it. But I was just excited. I was going to learn how to use a computer. And because when I was in high school, I knew I did not want to be any form of an administrative person. I never took a typing class or anything. So I just, peck at the keys. Until this day, I don't know how to properly type. I could type fast in my own little way, but I'm not winning any speed typing competitions. Anyway, I get the computer, I'm all excited, I plug it in, but the screen's black. And I'm like, And I know there's a mouse, and I have that, make sure that's plugged in. Why is my screen black? So I'm turning it off, I turn it on, I unplug it. I'm like, in my mind, oh boy, I got a lemon, it figures. But, all over the box and directions, everything, it said, if you have any problems, please call 1-800, whatever Dell, and get some technical support. Now remember, this is the year 2000. So I decide I'm going to get some technical support and figure out, because I really don't know what I'm doing, and I tend to jump into things head first. So I decide I'm going to call technical support. I call technical support, and you know how when you call, sometimes these call centers are in India. So I'm going to use the accent that I describe as the person I'm speaking with. Please don't flip the script and make this a prejudicial thing, because that is not what this is about. This is about me being stupid. But I'm throwing in the accent just to let you know that this is this poor guy's job, and he has to listen to idiots like me. So he answers the phone. Hello, this is Della. I am trying help. How can I help you? And I said, hello. Hi, thanks so much. He said his name was Daniel. I don't think it was, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So I said, Daniel, I just bought a brand new computer. I just plugged it in, and I have my mouse attached and keyboard's attached. Everything's attached, but the screen's still black. There's nothing going on. Okay, ma'am, what I want you to be doing at this time is I want you to please unplug the computer. Now, I know I've already done this, but I'm listening to Daniel because I have no idea about computers. And I just, Dell's advertising was just plug it in and go. It can't be simpler. So, I'm a relatively smart person, even though I do so many dumb things. So I thought, okay, so I'll just follow Daniel's lead. Whatever he tells me to do, I'm doing. So I unplug it. I wait, I think he said 10 seconds, and then I replug it back in. Now, ma'am, please tell me, what is it your screen is doing? I said, it's still black. I see. Okay, ma'am. And could you please check, is computer on? And I checked. Now, that's a great question, because it's not the first time I would have called with something unplugged or not on, but I was smart. Jacqueline over here. Me and my chesticles, the computer's on. So still, there's nothing going on the screen. So I said, no, there's nothing on there. And okay, ma'am, at this point, what I want you to do is right click. So I said, okay. So I right click. And he's like, now, ma'am, what is it you'll be seeing on your computer? I said, there's nothing. I still don't see anything. It's still nothing. Okay, ma'am, what we'll be doing at this point is I want you to please right click again. So I said, okay. So I right click again. Still nothing. I'm like, what the heck, So he says, okay, ma'am, please tell me now what is showing on your computer screen. I said, no, there's still nothing. Ma'am, did you right click? I said, yes, I did. I right, click. And then all of a sudden it dawns on me. He's a different language than me. He might be using a different word, click. I was literally typing in the word click, C-L-I-C-K. So chesticles over here says, I think I know the problem. How are you spelling click? true story. And he didn't even laugh. He probably wanted to punch me in the throat. And he said, Mom, on your computer there is a mouse and there are 2 buttons. What I want you to do is press the right button, right click. So I do that and the computer turns on and there we go. And I said, oh, I see. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then, of course, it was smooth sailing from there. But I thought when he said right click, he meant write it, like type it. So twice, people, twice. ICLICK. I'll try it again. CLICK. And then I'm so smart that I realized that we speak different languages and there may be a spelling difference. Wait a second. How are you spelling click? How does this man, how did these people do their jobs? I'm such an idiot. Oh, that was my 10 millionth embarrassing moment. But anyway, I learned that right click meant on the mouse, not on the keyboard. So my sister moves to Boston with the love of her life, and she's gone. And she's my best friend. We're only 18 months apart. We spent all our time together. We did everything together. But, she's happy. She's moving to Boston. So guess what? I'm going to visit her. And I'm single and young, and I have a car. And at that time, I was working still in clinical. This was in the early 90s. And maybe mid-90s. Well, that was early 90s. Definitely early 90s. And I'm going to drive to Boston and see my sister. So I'm driving, and I spoke with her boyfriend, who at the time, who is now her husband. And he says, look, there's different ways to go. Be careful, because everybody knows I never know where I am. It's always like, where am I? Where's Jacqueline? Where does Jacqueline think she is? It's not usually where she is. Anyway, he says to me, when you get to New York and you go over the George Washington Bridge, you've heard of the George Washington Bridge, right? Well, it's a double-decker bridge. And he explained it to me. He said, the top part is called George and the bottom part is called Martha. And you definitely want to take the top part for the directions that I was going. I honestly don't think there wasn't GPS. So I was going by handwritten directions, but he was so good at giving them to me, and he was very clear, get on the top part of the bridge, not the bottom part. So the George Washington, not what we all know that the whole thing is called George Washington, but for my purposes, this is a great idea to call the bottom Martha, okay? So I'm driving along, and I'm going across the George Washington Bridge, and it was probably the first time in my life, or at least that I remember. So as I get to the toll, I'm in New York, and I just want to make sure because, you can't really see what's above and what's below, and I'm just double checking because I'm always lost, and I don't want to get lost. This is like a 5-hour drive for me, and I'm only in New York still. So I say to the man at the toll, I said, this is the George Washington Bridge, right? And he looked at me with such a quizzical face. He goes, are you from this planet? Imagine this man has had probably millions of people pass him in his daily job. And I'm the only one that would ever ask when there's signs everywhere, George Washington Bridge, George Washington Bridge, I know I'm going on a bridge, and I have the nerve to ask this man, is this the George Washington Bridge? Because I wanted to make sure I wasn't on the Martha. Oh, that was another good one.